Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. It's your responsibility to do your own due diligence. And we start out where the word of the day is where we always start out every day. Complacent is our word of the day. Complacent, willing to please others, obliging, agreeable. That's an adjective. And we'll come back to our quote of the day to close out our show at the end. That is our story so far. Now we're going to go look at our S&P 500 heat map. Before that, let us go over here. If you're getting close to retirement and you don't want to continue to have assets at risk similar to 2008, where the market melted down to 54%. This is a great place to be because it goes up when the market goes up and it stays flat when the market goes down, goes up, stays flat, goes up again, and just keeps climbing the stairs. Beats index investing by about 5%, 12.58% to 7.57%. And you can lock in your gains. So that is the story there. We're going to stop the share. We're going to go over to our heat map. Here is our heat map. Just going to make sure we got our most recent example. Tesla pops 3.23%. NVIDIA is up slightly, kind of mixed bag in software. Financials are trying to bounce back. Utilities, real estate, energy. So there we can kind of see it. Home Depot and Lowe's seem to be up in home repairs, do-it-yourself repairs. And now we're going to go over to where things are really shaking up. This is in the crypto area. As we can see, got a big breakout. Yesterday had a big move. A lot of shorts had to cover, so it really kind of moved up. Bitcoin moved up to 112,000 and then sold off again. And then this morning it has really taken off up to 113,000. So that is a story with that one. Look at the 5-day, not much difference in the chart. Just want to move back to the 1-day at the moment. We'll take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is moving up as well. I believe a couple of days ago it was at 2,500. Said I believed based on a report that Ethereum would be moving higher. Let's see if the 1-day changed any. We had this big move here, pulled back a little bit, and then just took off. So that is it. We're going to go over to our charts. So we're going to show where the big money is flowing. Advanced micro devices is moving up here today, had a gap up. Since we're looking at Bitcoin, look at IBIT. IBIT is right now in the buy zone. moved up there. Take a look at MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is bouncing up and pulling back at the same time, and then bouncing back again. So that is kind of what's going on. It's moving around here pretty good. This is kind of where the big money is flowing. Bootmart, look at that nice move on Bootmark up, Boot Barn up 4.39% today. Pretty good volume down there, you can see. We got Copa. We got all the moving averages kind of aligned. The 10 days above the 20, the 20 days above the 50, and the 50-day is above the 200. So we got a power trend here. Power trend, once these lines are in motion, the stock tends to power up higher. So this is Copa Holdings, Panamanian Airline, up 3.95%. I'm going to go over to the NASDAQ first for a second. NASDAQ is quite a bit a ways from the 50-day moving average. This is a concern few people are talking about. Anytime it gets 5 to 6% above the 50-day moving average, correction could be in the way. And I believe the S&P 500 is 9% or more above. This is the equal weight in the NASDAQ. It's down, it's pretty flat. So the last few days has been pretty flat. Few traders have been asking for a pause. Pause would be nice, so the moving averages could catch up. So both the NASDAQ and the equal weight are about the same. The S&P 500 is moving up today, up 0.41%. So it's getting further stretched from the 50-day moving average. Was 9% yesterday. So something to keep our eye on. The equal weight is moving up even more, up 0.93%. It hasn't cleared yet, like the S&P 500 has cleared the breakout area, IWM. As we can see with all these charts, moving averages are all lined up. So this is why the market keeps moving up. It is in a power trend. There's a lot of buying coming in. And the Dow Jones had a 3-day pullback here, and it is breaking above that right now. It's not right above where it was 3 days ago. So it's pretty close to even where it was 3 days ago. We'll see if it gets into the pivot zone. So back to our fast moving where the big money is flowing. Educ US Holdings moving up pretty strong and heavy volume, up 7.5%. Gauged in petroleum and refining. Estee Lauder. So next one on our list, we got a gap up and powered high. We had one institutional ant right over here. And then a lot of times when this shows up, it kind of pulls back. And now it is jumping up 6.86%. Hertz made a big move today on big volume. I'm going to pull this down so we can see the volume a little better. Looks like it's getting ready to cross the relative strength line. It won't be a new high because the new high was right over here, but it would be a relatively recent new high. Hilton Grand Vacations Looks like it could be a little stretched. Take a look at our weekly chart. Yeah, it's clearly out of the pivot zone and getting pretty close to the profit zone. So I would wait for a new setup on that one. MP Materials. Wow, look at that move. Up nearly 40%. That's on a weekly move. Let's go back to the daily. Yeah, the daily is up 47.5%. Huge gap up. Wonder what the news is. See if there's any news here. Rare earth play skyrockets. Let's bring up the news here. So apparently the Pentagon made a rare earth news. See if it tells more about it in here. Doesn't really say what, oh, here we go. Partnership with the Pentagon to secure supplies of rare minerals that go into a variety of devices, ranging from cell phones and electric vehicles to military equipment. So you can go to Investors Business Daily to read more about this article. So that is the news on MP. Just going to close this window. A lot of these are stretch beyond the buying area right now. This one is up 12.17 today. Huge volume over here, just blasted right out of the buy zone. Piper Sandler in the financials and securities business gaps up and jumps over 300, up 4.86%. Got about 18 items here. QuantumScape keeps getting buying. Look at just stair step. Had a big pullback here, and then the next day might have been good opportunity to get in. It is just keeps going up and up and up. It is well extended. Too risky to get in at this point. SoFi Technologies, another one that is extended past the buy zone. Southwest Airlines. Propels into the pivot zone here. It is buyable in this area here if you were interested in it. Earnings are supposed to be up 16% this year and 127% next year. Look at the relative strength line, just going straight up. It's relatively, let me just go all the way back here. Relative strength rate line is in high territory. So it has been moving up a little bit. You may want to look at this, but the markets are in a risky area right now. Final one we're going to look at is Terex blast through the pivot zone, the 5% buying area. So this is extended. So a lot of these are extended. So we're going to now move over to our news. But before that, let us take a quick look at our sub-indexes. Start out with the one in aerospace that has been kind of leading all the other indexes. Sold off to the 10-day line and is bouncing. Financials. Getting back into the pivot zone. KBWB is in the pivot zone, had a 3-day pullback, got close to the 10-day moving average and is now bouncing. Here we go, right here. This one, energy, had a 1-day pullback and is bouncing right now. Had a big pullback here, and it has been trending slightly. Let us take a look at VIX. This is a fear index. After the big jump gap up here, it has definitely filled the gap. The VIX is an interesting index because 100% of the time it fills the gaps, and we got one right up here that we need to be concerned about. Utilities, they cleared these two lines right here yesterday and got another nice bounce right here. Looked at tech yesterday. It's pulling back a little bit. We looked at XLC. This is XLC. It's pulling back a little bit. Biotech, getting close to the 200-day moving average. Real estate gets a bounce today, still under the 200-day moving average. Other biotech clears the 200-day line, up 0.87%. Software, as we looked on the heat map, is cooling today, pulls back to the 10-day moving average. Technology holding steady. Semiconductors racing forward. Interesting, the infrastructure looks like it's getting ready for a breakout. Could be an early buy right here. As you draw the line, it has cleared those. Road is one of the stocks in the infrastructure area. It's been bouncing up and down in the pivot area here. Airlines. Wow, that is a big gap up 7.54% today. Big part of that we looked at earlier was Southwest. Leisure activities. Looks like we got a clearing breakout here. Kind of just draw the line. And that cross right here, this might have been a nice area to get in. And then we got a little flat area right here, and it now has cleared that. As you can see, it's in a power trend. I stand or I sit and recollect that it is not in a power trend because the 200-day moving average is above the 50, but it is looking interesting. Industrials look like they're trying to clear the pivot zone here. Deer is up big. Looks like Caterpillar is leading the way. These are the three big industrial leaders. United Rentals bounces into the pivot zone. Healthcare. Wow, got a pretty good move on healthcare this morning. Consumer staples got a pretty big move there, up 0.5%. Building materials moving up. Metals and mining with that MP stock we looked at earlier, I'm sure is helped lead the way in metals and mining. Home builders clearing the 200-day moving average today. Finally, uranium. Now we move over to the news. The bull bear spread of American Association of Individual Investors weekly survey was up 5.8% versus 11.9%. Last week, bulls fall to 41.4 from 45. Neutrals rise to 23% from 21.9, and bears rise to 35.6 from 33.1. On to the news. Consumer news. Kellogg shares jumped after the close last night after the Wall Street Journal reported Ferraro, the Italian candy maker behind Ferraro Rocher and Nutella. Nutella is nearing roughly a $3 billion deal to buy the breakfast cereal conglomerate, citing people familiar with the matter. Kellogg had a market value today of some 1.5 billion. Look at that huge gap up 30% in a day. It is in the pivot zone, but if they get a cash offer, I would not be interested in investing. Costco, pulling back here a little bit, reported net sales of 26.44 billion for the retail month of June. The 5 weeks ended July 6, 2025, an increase of 8% over the 24.48 last year. Same store sales rose 5.8% in the retail month of June. On to Dollar Tree, announced a $2.5 billion share buyback, and it is jumping, gapped up, and it's up nearly 3.5%. Tesla, Elon Musk says Grok is coming to Tesla vehicles very soon, next week at the latest. So their stock is up 3.85% today, but it has been in a kind of a downtrend. On to energy, industrials, and materials. AGCO announces $1 billion share repurchase program, and their stock is clearing the pivot zone, up 4.5%. APA Corporation said it curtailed about $10 million of cubic feet per day natural gas production and 750 barrels per day of U.S. natural gas liquids production in the second quarter in response to weak prices. And it's still under the 200-day moving average, down 0.68 today. AZZ Incorporated, look at that big move, up 7.66% on its earnings of $1.78 versus $1.58. So they are cheering that one. Delta Airlines quarter two adjusted net $1.37 billion versus $1.34 billion. And we got a big gap out, clearing the 200-day moving average. Yes, this is what is kind of moved the Jets ETF along with Southwest. Methode Electronics quarter four adjusted EPS a loss of 77 cents versus a loss expected of 23 cents. We got a big gap down of 25%. And we looked at MP Materials earlier, and Cohen and Steers preliminary assets under management 88.9 billion as of June 2025, an increase of 321 million. It's just up slightly, 1.4. Adjust our news articles here. On to Coinbase. Coinbase is clearing this interim consolidation right here. Here would have been a good buy point. Possibility that you could do an ad here. Volume is a little muted, but it is in a power trend, the 10-day above the 20, the 50, and the 200. Relative strength line isn't quite above, isn't at a new high, but it is getting close. Something to keep your eyes on. Synovus upgraded to overweight from equal weight at Wells Fargo. It's up 1.17. On to healthcare. Nuric shares jumped after quarter two revenues of 44.1 million rose from 12.1 million year over year and was well above consensus estimates of 17.5 million. Still, their stock tried to move higher and then sold off 3%. On to Rhythm. Rhythm Therapeutics prices 2.06 million shares at $85 in upsize public offering. I thought we may have looked at this yesterday, but it continues on up. On to Solano, announces proposed $200 million public offering, and their shares tank on that news, down 9.22%. On to Rare or Ulta Genetics, and Mario Biopharma shares declined after announced that they randomized placebo-controlled phase 3 portion of the Orbit study evaluating UX143 in pediatric and young adult patients with osteogenesis imperfecta is progressing toward a final analysis consistent with the original plan. So they are down nearly 27%. And let's see, Mario Biopharma. is down 42% on that news. On to technology, media, and telecom. Amazon is considering another multi-billion-dollar investment in AI from firm Anthropic, potentially Anthropic, potentially extending beyond its current $8 billion stake. This move could counterbalance the OpenAI Microsoft partnership, reports Financial Times. No real move by Amazon on that news. We'll take a look at Microsoft, see what it's doing today. Pulling back a little bit, down 0.4 onto XTI. Cuts Q2 revenue view to 17.5 to 18 million from 20 million to 22 million. So their stock is doing nothing at the moment. I'm not sure if it is currently trading, but it is at $2.06. On to Oracle. Oracle is upgraded to overweight at Piper and raise target to 270. That's quite a move from here, from 190 on higher estimates, factoring in increased visibility into enterprise momentum that may contribute later growth on top of the OpenAI Stargate opportunity to support. So that is interesting. PTC shares surged in the final minutes of trading day Wednesday, jumping as much as 17% after Bloomberg reported Autodesk is working with advisors to evaluate a cash and stock buyout of PTC. So they hit the profit zone yesterday. That would have been a good day to take your profit because it gapped down today. It's trying to fight back to get to 200. But that is a story with PTC. Workday is downgraded from neutral to underweight at Piper and cut to target to 235 from 255, and they're off 3.27%. So that is the story there. We did look at a few of the big cap techs. Take a look at Meta. Pulling back to the 10-day moving average. Google up slightly, up 0.57% for the day. Apple is actually moving on up today, up 0.87. This is the Apple that we have. We're currently invested in, and this is what we have in Meta, the double bull in Meta. We looked at Tesla, we looked at Microsoft. Here's NVIDIA. NVIDIA is up 0.53% today. Palantir, it's pretty flat for the day. MicroStrategy, I think we looked at earlier, it's up 1.1% today. I think we've covered all the big cap tech. Toast remains volatile. It did sell off pretty hard, and it is bouncing back today. So we're pleased to see that. These are all holdings that we have in our portfolio. Rigetti Computing is pretty flat. Dutch Brothers had sold off this morning pretty strong, down 3.15%. We're still profitable in this, but kind of debating whether to move this money into MicroStrategy. So that is the story there. That's kind of what we're looking at, and we will stop the share here and go over to our quote of the day. We're going to pause a second when we bring up our quote of the day. Our quote of the day is from Paul Tudor Jones, a famous trader, money manager. The secret of being successful from a trading perspective is to have an indefatigable and an undying and unquenchable thirst for information and knowledge. And that is where we come from. So with that, I hope everybody has a great day. As always, go out there, do your best to improve status of by helping others and just doing the right thing so everybody's boats can rise. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.